Welcome to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. Here we are with another edition of Reaching Out. And our very special guest is Councilmember Jumaane Williams from the 45th Council District in Brooklyn. Councilman, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Thank you. Before we begin, tell our listeners and the people watching us on cable TV a little bit about your background. Where did you come from? How did you get involved in politics?
First, I just want to acknowledge today the second anniversary of the Haitian earthquake, and I have a lot of residents and constituents who are from Haiti, so I want to make sure we recognize that and keep praying for Haiti as they're moving forward.
Now that you mentioned that, I want to say a couple of months ago, Local 237 put on an event in Harlem. It was called Hoops for Haiti. We had the assistant coach of the New York Knicks, Herb Williams, come, along with Hollis Copeland, who's a former Knick player, and they conducted a basketball camp for youth. And we raised money at that event, and we also had a concert, and we had a Haitian band come and play, and we had a Latin band come and play, and it was at the Taino Towers, and we raised about $10,000, and what we did was we gave that money to a visiting nurse service, and what they do is they use their money to travel to give aid and assistance to the people in Haiti.
That's excellent. I myself just had a memorial service with some other people yesterday, and we just have to make sure that we keep Haiti in our prayers. But as was mentioned, I represent the 45th District at the City Council in Brooklyn. I still consider myself very much a community organizer, and I think that's the spirit that I bring to the council, just from my history. I'm a Brooklyn born, bred, and raised, and from public school to master's, Brooklyn educated as well. Both of my parents are from Grenada, so I have a spice in my blood.
Okay.
But I'm very familiar with immigrant issues and just a whole host of issues from having grown up my entire life actually in New York City, basically in Brooklyn, 35 years old, but CUNY grad as well. So
which school?
Brooklyn College.
Brooklyn College.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, how did you get interested in politics?
My first love is acting, actually. But that was what I decided to be. Was an actor. That's what I was going to go to school for. I actually ended up going to major in film. Then I switched to political science. I kind of say it's the same game, different stage.
Okay.
But I was always interested in affecting change. So I knew I wanted to affect change, but regardless of what I was doing. And I just started getting more involved, and I got very involved on campus politics and things that were going on in the student world at Brooklyn College. But I was part of student government. I ran for student government president. I was the graduate student body president when I was in grad school. And I knew and understood that electoral politics was a way to access some power to make some changes. And right after graduation, I got involved in a whole bunch of community organizations in East Flatbush area, in the Flatbush area. And then I ran an organization called Tenants and Neighbors, which is about a block from here, actually. They're home base. They're a statewide tenants' rights organization. Then I did some work in Bed-Stuy. I paused for a second, tried to open a vegetarian vegan cafe, but I did open it up. It failed miserably, but it was a great experience. Okay. I just look at it as, if I went to business school, I would have had to pay something. So I think I got great experience there, and so I think I got actually a wealth of experience from a lot of different places that helps me do what I'm doing now and just have empathy for people who I represent.
Now, you and I both attended the mayor's State of the City address. We both just came from that. Anything that you took away from there that strikes you as being very good for the city?
Well, first, I was obviously disappointed in a lot of things that weren't said, but I wasn't surprised because I guess the speechwriter's job is to try to make things look as rosy as possible. I was encouraged by some of the business ideas that the mayor had. I was very encouraged by his support of the DREAM Act and very encouraged by the fact that he's supporting minimum wage.
That was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yes, that was fantastic. But I do want to know if he's going to be supporting living wage. Like, I'm happy he's supporting something that he doesn't directly control, but there is something now that he can directly have input, and that's living wage.
Now tell me the difference between, and I know what it is, but our listeners, the difference between a minimum wage, which is being proposed of moving it up from $7 and change an hour to $10 an hour to a living wage. What is the difference?
Living wage is actually going to be close to the same, depending whether or not you get health insurance. But this is just making sure that we adjust the salaries that we're giving so people can live off of it. Because you may or may not be able to live off of a minimum wage. But I mean, $10 is fairly close, but it doesn't adjust also for if you don't have health insurance, which is going to be about $1 or so more. So both of those things are very encouraging. But we should have support across the board. If he's supporting a minimum wage increase, he should be supporting living wage. He also should be supporting paid sick leave. But there were things that just categorically weren't true. Like the educational system was one of the things that he banked his reputation on, and I think he's been a miserable failure at that, actually. But I think particularly Black and Latino kids are not being successful how they should have. But I think we're not even increasing in many of the things that he says we are, because some of the tests were questionable and they don't match up when we test either through the state or through the country. So there's a problem there. But I think we need municipal control and not mayoral control. The mayor we've learned, doesn't just do things unless he's forced to do it. So he has mayoral control. I think he's failed at it, and we should have municipal control. But he mentioned MWBE. We've heard that a bunch of times, trying to give what they call minority women in business bigger contracts. He gave no information how he's going to do that, no specifics. It's a great one-liner to clap about, but with nothing behind it, how are you going to actually do it? But the one that disappointed me the most, there was really no talk about police accountability and police culture and the problems that we have with that and the Black, Latino, Asian community. And it's disappointing because the Black, Latino, Asian community, Muslim community, Caribbean community make up over half of the city. And the Black, Latino, Asian caucus, which makes up over half of the city council, sent a letter to the mayor asking him to mention this, but at least acknowledge it as a problem at the State of the City address, and he didn't do that. But I had a rally the Saturday before. A lot of elected officials signed a resolution and community groups, but also asking the mayor to do this, and he didn't do it. So to me, this is a slap in the face to those communities, basically saying, I just really don't care about the problems that you're having. But, and it's very disappointing because we don't want an adversarial tone, but we want to have a partnership. But it's hard to do that when leaders like the mayor or the commissioner won't even acknowledge that there's a problem. If they won't acknowledge it, then they probably shouldn't be there, and we should have people there who would acknowledge and who would engage. Now, I've met with both of them previously, and it's been fine. But we have to meet with more community leaders and people who are really on the ground doing this work so we can address the problem. But now, he did mention something about appointing more people to the Police Corruption Commission, which obviously is a good thing. I mean, but giving someone $1 is a great thing. But if you have 1,000, it really doesn't match up. And the line about the police commission was kind of the lowest bar that he could have reached for when it came to dealing with NYPD and NYPD issues. And it's just very disappointing that he would skirt that issue completely, even though, over half of the city council, and it represents over half of New York City. He just basically said, it doesn't matter what you're asking me to do. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And it's just a slap in the face to us. That's
all the time we have for this segment. I hope you will come back. We were talking with Councilman Jumaane Williams from the 45th Council in Brooklyn.
All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.